Hello, Jamie.
Hi, Carol.
We'd like to thank you for tuning into our podcast. I thought maybe we should talk a little bit about how we approach the flu season as holistic and trying to keep from buying the cough medicine at the store. Not that you can't, and it's a product out there you can use, but for those of us who don't want to have food dyes, stuff in there, how we
approach it.
Yep, how we boost our immune systems, what we use to treat a cough or a sore throat. Or I can tell you in my house, we have beef bone broth going almost all winter long. Chastity, our oldest, who's disabled, and I are probably the only ones who consume that regularly. The other two members of the household, Madison and Rich, consume it if I put it into something. But they don't sit down with a cup of bone broth and just sip it like you sip coffee or tea.
Yep.
I do. Chastity gets bone broth daily with her diet because she's tube fed. I can control that completely. She doesn't have a whole lot of choice in what I give her. Not that she would know anyway. That's how I do it. And then I also use elderberry syrup in our home. Other than that, I don't do a whole lot. I've messed around a little bit with honey, garlic in honey, but I haven't really used it, as they say. Now, I know in your household you do, and you use essential oils and stuff too. So let you talk a little bit about what you do.
I have a list of 12 things that I was just like going, I need to think.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about that.
And a few things I've learned this last year is there are some useful things out of TikTok. There's Homesteaders. I've learned a lot of stuff from Homesteaders on TikTok, and one of the things is onion honey. Is you chop up an onion, and the stronger, the better.
So like a yellow or a white?
Yep. Or even red.
Okay.
Or purple, however you want to call it. But if it's going to make you cry, it's great.
Okay.
And I'm one of those people, I'll cry. I cut an onion, I'm going to cry.
Okay.
But anyway, you cut up an onion, and then you pour honey over top of it, and you stir it, and you leave it sit. So I have a half a quart of that sitting on my counter, and you can smell it. Even, I have a lid on it, but I open it and it's like, whoa, yep, it's onions. Mm-hmm. And then I did the same thing with garlic, like you were talking about. I peeled, I think, 3 bulbs of garlic and then poured honey over it. And I'm stirring that every day. And I've read that you can leave that set indefinitely. And then I cut the cloves of garlic up into what I would consider bits. Okay. So when I stir it, I will take the end of that and I'll grab a piece of garlic and eat it. I was using it as an immune thing because I've had the grandkids. One kid, they've had whooping cough in his school, and he was coughing really bad. And my daughter took him in last week, and they did put him on an antibiotic because he was coughing so hard. And he was better Monday when he always spends Sunday night at our house. And because his school does a 4-day week, so Mondays they don't have school, and so he stays at our house. And he was not coughing at all. So it almost makes me think it's like, oh, maybe it was bacterial so that it cleared up so quickly. So I was taking it as a preventative. It's like, I don't want this. I love you, but Grandma's going to. I do things to help build up my immune system. A couple of those things are I drink kombucha almost daily. I try to drink kefir daily, like fermented vegetables I eat a few times a week, all helping to build up your stomach and gut so that it can fight whatever comes at me. But then there are some things that I will do if I feel a scratchy throat come on. And that was last night. I stayed over at my daughter's, and she does not have a humidifier in her house, is where I have humidifiers in my house. And then I sleep with a CPAP machine where it's blowing cool air in my sinuses and stuff all night. And so I woke up this morning with oh no, I don't want that. I came home and promptly took a spoonful of the honey and garlic and the honey and onion. And then I have essential oils that I put them under my tongue. I'm done it enough that I can. Somebody that's just starting out, some of these are what they call hot oils. And you may not be able to do that. And then I would suggest that you get like gel caps and make a tablet for yourself of essential oils. And then you can swallow it and you don't have to taste the burning sensation under your tongue. But because the first one many years ago, I heard a chiropractor on the internet say, take oregano, oil of oregano, put it in a glass of water and drink it. Oh, that was an experience. Because it's hot. I mean, we're talking almost like jalapeno.
Really?
Yeah, burn your mouth. And so I'm like, well, I won't do that again. Now, fast forward 5-6 years, now I will.
Okay.
Because so here, some of the essential oils that I use, most of them have something that's called like a thieves, on guard, or, you know, that trinity of cinnamon, clove. I just know them as the blends. I will take peppermint, frankincense, copaiba, I think is how you pronounce it, and oregano, and I will put a drop of those. I open them up in a series so that I can drop them under my tongue really quickly, because I figure under my tongue they're going to hit my blood system and get in there and knock it out. And then I take a sip of water, and then I swish it around, and then you swallow. And depending on the oregano, how it hits your lips and stuff, it may tingle, and then I may take just a cracker or something, because it seems the cracker will take the burn out of your mouth much quicker.
Oh, that's a nice hint.
So it's like, so if you're eating jalapenos or something and it's too hot and too intense for you, take a cracker.
Like a soda cracker?
Like a soda cracker, or even just any cracker, carb thing, like a piece of bread or something like that. And if you eat it and hold it in your mouth, it'll help absorb some of those oils so that it doesn't burn as much.
That's interesting.
But for like my 26-year-old son that is coughing severely this week, I put that in a gel cap for him because he doesn't like jalapenos per se. And so I do that to help him get that down into his system. And because he looked at the honey, onions, and garlic and goes, no, Mom, not happening. He goes, not eating that. I'm like, okay, it's your choice.
Yep. Well, he's 26.
Yeah. He goes, I will go buy cough syrup. I'm like, oh, that's fine. I'm not buying cough syrup for you because I don't want the red dyes and stuff like that. The sugars and stuff that they want. But he can do that. So, but I will diffuse these oils too.
Talk to me about diffusing.
So a diffuser, basically a diffuser is a mini humidifier. You can buy them off of Amazon. Walmart has them now, I've seen. And you put in like 8 drops in. It probably holds a cup and a half of water. Okay. The little ones anyway. I have a half-gallon one in my bedroom. And it puts out, I have to regulate the humidifier on my CPAP because it can put out enough where I've got water running back in my sinuses. But that helps, especially for like little kids or people that don't want to take oils internally, that'll help get those particles in the air. So you can get the benefits of the oils and inhale them instead of having to swallow them. So
this would be a good thing probably for Chastity.
Yes.
Where, she doesn't take anything orally. Not that I can't put it through a feeding tube. Yeah. But diffuser would probably be beneficial for her.
Yeah, and another way to take them is like if you don't want to do that, you can put like a drop of like olive oil, jojoba oil, any carrier, what they call a carrier oil, coconut oil, put it in the palm of your hand, put a drop of the oil on your hand, rub them together and warm it up, and then inhale it. Peppermint oil will help open up the sinuses. And it's a warm oil, but it's not so much on your hands. Most people's hands are tough enough that you can take it. And then you can actually rub it on, and if you're going to rub it on a child, make sure that you have a carrier oil with it if they have sensitive skin, so that you can rub it on them and that they can. So instead of like Vicks Vapor Rub. I was
going to say, like Vicks.
You rub it on their chest. And actually my granddaughter goes, oil me, Grandma? And I'm like, so if she's coughing and sniffing, I'm like, oils? And so she's like all ready for me to oil her. I've been doing that since she was 2-ish.
And then you just put it on the front, or do you put it on the back?
I do both. I rub it on both front and back, chest and stuff. So that's what I do with my oils. And there's lots of oils. I mean, research, there's all kinds of information out there. Do your own research and do what you're comfortable with. That's a disclaimer. We're not medical doctors. These are just some things that we do. My kids call it Grandma's voodoo. It's like, Grandma, do your voodoo. Because if you can save the expense of going to the doctor or the time of going to the doctor, is awesome.
Well, then there's all the, every time you take an antibiotic, you put your body into a bad state.
Because you kill good and bad bacteria.
Yep, you kill a lot of stuff. Both the good and the bad are killed, and so then your body has to rejuvenate from that. Not that there isn't a time and a place for antibiotics, because sometimes they are needed, but I think we overuse them. Eventually, they're not going to work anymore. Some don't work anymore.
And I raised my kids, unfortunately, in the time, whereas if they were sick, you took them to the doctor and they put them on an antibiotic, whether they really needed it or not. But unfortunately, that's what my kids were raised. That was the era in the 90s that I raised kids. I wish I could go back and redo it.
Yeah. But you can only do the best you can with the knowledge you have at the time. So you should not feel bad about that.
Yeah.
But, it is something you think about and you're like, well, now I know better.
I'm educating them now about use this only if you really have to. So if my grandson, he responded so well to the antibiotics that they put him on, I'm like going, he probably needed them. And so now I will, when he's over at grandma's house, because he is 6, but so I will be sneaking some kombucha into his apple juice and a little kefir in with his milk, and just some of those things to help rebuild his gut flora. And
because that is something that's very important. When you've been on an antibiotic, you need to help your body out. I mean, not that it won't eventually get there, but if you can get some of that cultured
back in there.
Yeah, those good bacteria, get your yogurt in, even if you have to buy the store-bought stuff or whatever, just to help.
I mean, because there are good brands of yogurt in the store.
Yes, there are. And it's just you need to help your gut out a little bit because I mean, even in my cattle, if we use something, that's the first thing we do. Probiotics go into the animals to help rebuild that gut health if they need it or whatever. It's really 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 important to rebuild that. Should you be on antibiotics? Because like I said, sometimes it's necessary. Sometimes it doesn't matter. You need that help.
You need help. That's like when I twisted my ankle. It's like, was it broken? I go, I don't know yet. It's the weekend. I won't go to the ER. I'll wait until Monday. And if I still can't stand on it, then we'll go to a doctor. But we'll go to an office instead of the ER because it will be cheaper. So it's not like I rush out and go to a doctor.
Wait and see a little bit. And
because we don't have health insurance, you think twice.
Yes, you do. That's very true. I have health insurance, and I still think twice because I have a really high deductible. And
probably wouldn't use the whole deductible in a year anyway.
No, and so if I have to go to the doctor, it's because it is a medical emergency. Something like that. Even when you do carry insurance, you don't always go in because not everything is covered. But anyway, that's another story.
But back to my list. Another one I've done is raw garlic. Learned this on the internet, and then and they say just peel it and chew it. Oh, that's very intense too. Right up there with oil of oregano. So my husband won't ever do that again. But what I do is I will make a piece of toast, butter it, crush the garlic through like a garlic press, put it on the bread, fold it in half, and then eat it because then it's not coming into contact with your tongue. But I'm thinking the honey garlic will probably replace that in my life now.
Probably.
Because that was much easier and pleasant to take.
Yeah, I would imagine so. That you got the honey is a little bit sweeter. Probably takes that bite out of it.
Takes that bite out of it.
Chastity, I used to, she was fighting cancer, I used garlic heavily on her, and she smelled like a garlic clove. I kid you not, I could walk into her room and I swear it was coming out of every cell in her body, not only her breath, her nose, whatever, it would just reek in there. And so then I have to take it away from her for a little bit because I couldn't stand and I have to take care of her, and it's like tone that back down or whatever. And I just did, straight garlic right into her feedings, or whatever, because she doesn't have to taste that. I have to smell that. And she smelled like a garlic clove.
Well, and my husband, he will, my test is when my husband goes, I can smell you. You've had enough. I'm like, okay, I'll cut it back for a while. But that's one of my go-tos. Raw onions. Actually, Bob was talking about his dad the other day. He goes, when my dad would get sick, he would eat a raw onion sandwich.
Yes, I heard him talk about that. Yeah. Well, that's what you did with the garlic. Basically, you had a raw garlic sandwich.
Yeah, basically. So it's like, oh, okay. When he goes, he wasn't sick very often. And they were a one-income family most of the time. His mom worked off and on, but they had 8 kids, and so it's not always possible for mom to go out and make money. Yep. She made money at home doing other things.
So the onions and garlic obviously have some...
Yeah, there's something in them.
I don't know what it is. It would be interesting to research that. Yeah. That seems to be a kind of a running common... thing. Because I've heard about taking a cut onion and leaving it sit in a room. And just letting it stink up the room, so to speak. And that's supposed to help. And putting them in your socks and putting socks on and sleeping with onions on your feet. Not that I have tried any of that stuff, but it's
now,
interesting.
When my granddaughter was coughing really bad last week, we had done that. We had cut garlic, and I had put one on each end of her playpen. Yes, my house smelled like onions.
Garlic or onions?
Onions.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, that's a big one on TikTok right now too, is to cut them up and put them all over your house. If you're fighting something horrible, to change them. If you're going to do that, to change them every couple days.
Oh, okay. No, I was just going to ask. So, so how often do you have to freshen them up, so to speak?
So yeah, every couple days, I suppose, when they start to dry out a little bit. But then let's see, going down my list, teas, echinacea. I'm sitting here because I woke up with that scratchy throat this morning. I've got a glass of echinacea tea. And they say echinacea is something that you need to do right when you feel it coming on, because if it's like day 3 or 4, they say it's not as effective, is what I've read.
Okay, so you have a tea bag in here.
Yep.
This is from the store?
Yep, it is traditional medicine. And I read the tag. It's got elderberry in it too.
Oh, okay.
So that's down on my list here. Is another thing I do is elderberry syrup. And actually, I ran out of my elderberry syrup this week, so I have to make some.
Okay. And where do you get your elderberries from? Do you have a tree in the backyard, or do you?
I don't know. Can it grow in Minnesota?
Yes, we have it growing in our grove.
Oh.
So if you need them, but you need to catch me with it before the birds catch them.
Okay.
Because
we'll put that on the calendar for next year.
The birds definitely love elderberry. And I have a friend who does something with the blossoms too.
Oh.
She does something with the blossoms. But yes, I deliberately, when they put the new grove in out here, I deliberately put elderberry bushes in.
Oh.
So I have several out there, and I don't tend them. I don't do anything with them. I pick the fruit from them if I can remember. I didn't do it this year because I completely forgot about it.
How many year are you picking it?
I want to say it's in September.
August, September?
Yeah. Yes, it does grow here in Minnesota.
The ones I have right now on the shelf, I bought their Frontier ones, brand.
Okay. I know Mountain Herbs is very popular with that.
I think I bought these off Amazon, a flea market that we like to go to. They have it every weekend. From as soon as the snow is gone and the ground is walkable, they have this flea market opens until October. It's open every weekend, and this fall, one of the few last times we went, I found somebody there selling homemade elderberry syrup. So I had bought a quart. It was spendy, but I just ran out of it now.
So last you a couple months.
Yeah. I use that as a preventative. Okay. I will put that in with my kombucha, like a shot, probably a tablespoon.
Okay, I was just going to ask you, how do you dose that? And then if you're sick, do you up that then? Do you just double that, or
more times a day? Okay. I don't know if I would take 2 shots, 2 tablespoons in a glass by itself. It's really rough. It's unless you sweeten it. But this was just no sugar or anything. I would do it multiple times, and I always mix it with my kombucha. So I take that with elderberry syrup. I've never made it myself. I've always bought it before, but I bought berries thinking I'm going to try making it. And so I've been researching that and looking at a couple recipes. So that is one of the things I want to try to do either tonight or this weekend and stuff, to get that back in my supply so that I have it. Seeing that it's hitting, it's here.
It's coming, yep.
Last year was a rough winter for my granddaughter. Started daycare. And she was sick, Grandma was sick. She was sick, Grandma was sick.
At least you don't have her as often now.
No, and she seems to be handling daycare better.
She's probably got her immune systems now used to the bugs that are there.
Yeah,
so she's got a little.
Because this was the first cold that she's had this fall, winter.
I remember last year her being sick a lot. You're like, oh, she's got the crusty nose again or whatever. And that type thing. So
she's getting, she's getting over this cough and everything, and I think, all the weird things that I do for her that sneak it in. And,
and she doesn't get it real consistently either.
No.
If you think about it, because her mom does not do that.
No, her mom.
Not that that's wrong, just that she doesn't do those things. And it's still even a hit and miss type thing. It still seems to maybe help her.
I see her at least one evening a week, maybe 2, because Matt said he'll come out probably Saturday. So we might make cookies Saturday or something. So she'll get, if she's out there, she'll get a couple doses of it from me. So that's one of them. And another thing is sinus rinses. I'm the only one in my house that will do this, where you're rinsing your sinuses with a saline solution. From a doctor, from an allergist many years ago, that I took one of my kids to, thinking he was allergic to dogs. He's not. He's really happy he's not.
Yep.
I had been talking to her, and she goes, oh, here, take this. And you just fill it full of warm water, put a saline. She gave me the saline packets, and then you rinse your nose. I didn't know you could do that. Squirt water up one side of your nose, and it comes out the other side. I'm like, oh, so I will do that if it's really getting bad.
Yeah, I was going to say, what's that called? Lavage? is that what that's called? I believe that's what that's called when you do that. But they used to advertise on TV, those machines that would do that. They're not cheap, though.
So it's cheaper to go get your neti pot from Walmart?
Probably. But, this is a machine that, it runs. Yeah, it runs everything. But I know several of my customers, my milk customers, use that, especially when COVID hit. Oh. Because they say that's where COVID starts, is in your nose. Okay. Yep, in your nose. And so if you flush that regularly, it reduces the severity of COVID or helps prevent it. Type thing. But they say that's where it starts, is in your nose. And so if you can keep your nasal passages clean and I have people who religiously do that 2 times a day.
Oh, I don't do it that often. Only if I think I'm going to get a sinus infection.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we don't have anything like that here. We do not do that here. Yeah. So
I'm the only one. My husband doesn't do. No, he won't. No. Well, and actually, he's got kind of a crooked nose, and he says that I think he's done it once, and he goes, no.
It just not a good thing for him.
He didn't feel like it rinsed it out enough or something. I don't know. So he tried it, and that's okay.
Yep, doesn't work for him. Yep. Okay.
Another one, learned about this from Dr. Jocker on YouTube. He talked about nebulizing a food-grade hydrogen peroxide. Mm-hmm. And so I actually went and looked up the video this morning. It's dated December 31st of 2021, where he talks in, and then he has links to the peroxide that he uses and stuff like that, so that he goes into that. And so we did that last year when we were battling.
I was just going to say, somebody I know did it. It was you.
Yeah.
Okay.
We were doing this last year because our whole house, my husband and I, when we feel like something coming on, we won't kiss each other because we don't want, if one of us only had it, and we don't, and if we can stop it from going to the other one, even though we're sleeping in the same bed, we will do that. I think last year, I don't think we kissed from November until maybe March, because one of us was always sick. It just kept getting passed around the house. And so we started doing this, and we felt like it helped, get the junk out of our lungs. So that's, it's just another tool for you to investigate. Yep. I mean, go watch that. Watch his video. I mean, knows much more about it than I do. I was just blindly doing what he suggested and see if it worked.
Yeah, you're just looking for help.
Yeah, we were desperate at that point in time, and so we did it. And of course, drink.
Yep.
Water. Be it water, juices, especially kids.
Lemon is really good too.
Oh, yes.
Yes,
lemon water.
If you can do lemon water or lemon in your tea or whatever, I've heard lemon is really good for you too.
And then my husband's favorite is a hot toddy. Hot toddy before you go to bed helps you sleep. If you want to go that route, you're totally welcome to. And then, of course, up your vitamin C. Are you taking vitamin D? These were things that we until COVID hit, in 2020, we'd never really looked at vitamin D or zinc and some of those other ones. Up your vitamins.
Yeah, so you take a good multivitamin.
Yep. Yeah, that's a good place to start.
It's just at least over the winter months or flu season or whatever, is to, find yourself a decent multivitamin and try at least start there, that give you and make sure you're getting all your that stuff.
I've heard of people around us that, like in the schools and stuff, that the crud is hitting hard this year. The RSV with the kids and everything.
Yes, I've heard that.
And then whooping cough in my grandson's school. I'm like going, you haven't heard whooping cough in years. When my grandson's teacher called Jackie and said, I think you need to have Zane checked out, because he is coughing really bad. Yeah,
and especially if that's going through your school or somewhere where you are, quite often that you maybe do need to see a doctor to make sure that you are okay.
Yeah.
And that we're just dealing with a cold and not something
because I mean, to go and have him say it's viral, there's nothing I can do, I'm totally fine with that. Then I know that my list of tools that I have in my tool belt, I can start hitting these, and it's going to be probably enough, to help kick whatever it is out. I have one more suggestion. It was really funny.
Well, she pulled out another tablet, guys.
Well, that's only because I wrote down directions. I always watch a couple of YouTube videos in the morning. That's when my coffee, and then watching this garden answer YouTube channel, because I love to garden. She has a gorgeous garden. But anyway, then of course, I'm like, I don't think we had even talked about what we're going to talk about today. And this pops up. It's from Homesteading Family. We've watched a lot of them. Yes. We've talked about her. It was basically an onion salt poultice.
Okay.
And so she took an onion, chopped it up, put about a half a cup of salt on it, stirred it up, and then she made a poultice, made a pocket with cheesecloth, put it on there and closed it up. And then she said you put oil on your patient's
oil,
chest.
like olive oil or something. Okay.
Yeah, just on to help kind of to like soothe kind of protect the skin, but help for, facilitate it moving out through you. You put the oil on, and then you put because you chop the onion up and mixed it with salt, and then you warmed it for a minute in the microwave or a minute on a stove to just get some of those juices moving. And then you made your pocket, and then you laid it on, have your patient lay down, because they're going to keep it on them for 2 hours if you can do it. It would be hard with a child.
Yep.
And so then you put that down, and then if you have a heating pad or like a rice pad that you can warm up in the microwave and put on top of it to help drive it in more, and then you put a towel over it and you leave them sit for however long you can, because I can see my grandkids not sitting very long. But actually, my 26-year-old son that's got this cough right now, I presented this to him at lunchtime. I said, would you do that? And he goes, yeah, I could do that as long as I can shower afterwards. And I go, yes, you could shower afterwards and stuff. He goes, okay, I will try that tonight.
Okay, so we'll update next time we get together, see how that worked for him.
Yeah, and so she suggested do it in front and back if you could get them to lay that long. Put them in bed, put them in front of the TV or whatever.
There is a point where you're feeling so sick it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
you're probably napping anyway or something like that. If you could get them to rest like that, you might be able to get by with something like that. I know I saw YouTube Azure Standard, and I had gotten an email or something, and they were like, here's our flu solution to
I think I might have seen that one.
And they were doing hot and cold packs.
Yes.
They laid their patient on the countertop. He was the little kid. The kid was just laying there, and then they were like, they had boiling. I don't remember if it was boiling hot water
or
warm water or whatever. And she had towels, and she was doing cold, hot. Cold, hot. And it was exactly so many minutes. I think it was like maybe 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Of each, and she says that really works. It works really well if somebody's terribly congested or whatever. And I thought, boy, yeah. And I mean, she had stuff in ice. I mean, it was ice. And and she had a towel down to protect them. So
their skin and stuff.
Whatever. But I thought that was really interesting. So I might have to go back and watch that again.
Now that you say that, I did go watch that. Would you be able to do something like that on Chaz? Or
probably not.
She would not,
because she's very tactile sensitive, and so doing stuff, even putting lotion on her, she kind of goes into a real weird panic, and she tries to get it off. I mean, putting chapstick on her, because she gets really dry lips. That's a very common thing for her, and she walks around with duck lips, as they call them, trying to rub it on anything she can. She won't rub her hands on it, but she wants to rub it off on the pillow, the mattress or the couch or whatever type thing. She's very sensitive to that type of type of things. I've been able to put lotion on her feet. Put lotion on, put socks on, and put shoes on, and then she leaves it.
Oh, okay.
But if it was moist for very long, if I put a heavy coat on, probably wouldn't be able to get by with that. But I could never do something where I was expecting her to lay flat.
And put a poultice on her or something.
Yeah, put something. I couldn't probably do that. She wasn't real tolerant of Vicks when I used to use that or anything like that. So it's special type stuff that we have to try and work with her and that type of thing. But
well, you work really hard to keep her immune system strong.
Yes, we do a lot of preventative type stuff with her to make sure she's good. And she's been really good since COVID hit. We haven't really had a whole lot of sickness with her, just simply because I think she's not out in the community.
Yep.
And I have her. Sometimes she smells like a garlic clove. I usually don't do that unless she's sick, but I do a lot of stuff to keep her immune system up.
Well, and that's like today when I woke up with my scratchy throat. I thought, okay, I tell you, it's like, okay, I've got a scratchy throat. If you do not want me in your house, I'm totally fine with it, because I don't want to bring it to Chaz, because Chaz doesn't understand being sick.
Right.
And so I didn't want to bring it to her if but I feel fine now. And actually,
you look great.
Yeah, actually the story, I was really tired from not sleeping well at somebody else's house, but I forgot to tell you the story about cleaning up lunch, putting food away in the refrigerator, and I'm like going to stir my onions and my garlic for the day. And I thought, well, I'm going to take some of this to help with the gunk. Getting ready to leave, and I'm like coughing and gagging and like, oh God, I'm not going to be able to record him. That's all we're going to be like time out so we can cough and pause the recording and stuff. And I'm like, but then about halfway out here, I'm like, it just like was gone, and I'm like, oh, okay, that stuff really works.
Yeah, it does that. See,
And I'm
that's
like,
a great
yeah.
testimonial.
Because it's like my sinus, I didn't think I had anything in my sinuses, but apparently I must have, because it was like draining and my nose was dripping and stuff. And I'm like going,
but that's okay because you
Yep.
need to get rid of that. So that's
Yeah.
that's interesting that, you know, you're
because
just
it's all
really-
those, you know, it's things like that that happens. Because I can remember the very first time, I don't know, it probably was, you know, 2006, 7, the first time I ever did the oregano oil and the garlic cloves, chewing them, because I was catching a cold and there was an event that I needed to go to that I had to work. I mean, I didn't want to do that to the people going, I'm sorry, I can't come work because I got this cold. They
Right.
would understand.
Yes.
But I felt like, oh, told them I would do this. And I thought, okay, I was desperate and I tried it and it worked. And that's what kind of started me down this crazy road of looking at other ways. Because normally I would get a cold. I would start doing the Sudafed, cough syrup and stuff. But it was a good 10 days before I even felt maybe a little better. Because if I got a cold, it was no matter how many times a year, it was going to be a cold. And I would be not, and I was a mom, you still had to function, you still had to
Right.
feed the family, but I would do it with this not feeling good for 10 days. And so when that just like kind of kicked it, and it was like 2-3 days, and I was like, oh, I can go to this event and work. And I was like, that's what kind of started me down this road of looking at alternative ways to help just a common cold. Nothing
Right.
else, just a common cold. And so that's where this list, I kind of, every now and then I was like, oh, here's another thing to put on my list of, because I started out having a list. It's like things to try for
Yep.
the common cold. When I pulled out that list and I thought, oh, my list is much longer now. I need to add more to it. And so that's where I pulled out my planner and
There
I'm
you
like,
go.
going, I got 12 things written down here.
Well,
And
that's-
actually
that's
13 if you
awesome.
count the one that I have in the notebook.
That's awesome that you know, document that and you can say, you know, it really does help
Yep.
our family or whatever.
Yeah.
I just,
So, you know, it's not, you know, and it's like it may work one time and it may not, but don't throw it away. Virus is different.
I was just going to say each bacteria is different. That's why
Yep.
there's several antibiotics
Yep.
out there, you know, because,
Yep.
you know, not everything works
Yep.
for everything. But if you can find something that does
Yep.
work and, you know, garlic isn't expensive, onions
No.
are not expensive, honey might be, but
Honey's a little expensive
and
because I use raw local honey
yep,
and it was $18 a quart.
that's costly. But you know
But-
what?
The last time I went to the doctor, that was expensive.
Yeah, I was just going to say a trip to the doctor or even penicillin's fairly cheap, but still.
But they're saying there's shortages of things right now.
Okay. Oh, I have not heard that. So.
I don't know about Tylenol and stuff like those. There's shortages right now and stuff. I just heard another one yesterday and I don't remember what it was. And I went, oh, that's weird.
Okay, so let's visit this for a minute. You talked about Tylenol now. So where do you sit on the fever? When
Oh,
you have a fever,
fever.
when do you treat a fever?
I do not treat a fever hardly ever.
Because there is a danger zone.
Yes, there's a day. You know, that's 103. That's when you're looking at, you need to go to a doctor and ER when it gets up to that high. But like, because my son his daughter didn't go to daycare because mom said she had a 99 point something fever and that she was giving her Tylenol. And I'm like, oh, I don't, you know, your body is getting warm for a reason. It's heating up. It's just like when you sterilize your jars and your canning lids, you're killing stuff. And that's what your body's doing. It's heating up to kill whatever is attacking it. And so I let the body do that. I mean, yes, you're going to get uncomfortable. 101, the child is not, you know, he's not running around hippy skippy because his body's fighting something and he needs to rest and let his body do his thing. Now, if it's getting up to 103, and I've never had a child get up to 103, fortunately, personally, you know, I did take ibuprofen on Sunday because I wanted to take a shower and I knew I needed to stand on it and I needed to get a little pain control under there to be able to do that.
Right.
It was probably the quickest shower I've had in a long time.
Yep.
But fever wise, I just let the body do its
Yes.
thing.
The fever is a good thing.
Yeah.
To a point.
To a point.
There are some things you have to watch out for is how fast that fever comes
Yeah.
on because one that comes on very rapidly can throw them into a seizure.
Oh, okay.
But that has more to do with the temperature, not how high the temperature is, how fast it goes.
Okay.
And you get a febrile seizure out of that.
Okay.
And I have had that happen to one of my kids where the temp went up really, really high and she seizured from it. That's not real common, but
Yeah.
it can happen.
Oh, yeah.
I belong to a wellness group, and that wellness group really truly believes that you do not treat a fever, and some of them let that fever go up to about 106.
I've never had that happen to any of my kids.
Well, I haven't either. For me, 104 is about my limit as far as because you're pretty darn uncomfortable at that point. But I don't treat what I call a low fever. No. Anything under 100. Well, for me, anything under 104, I don't treat. But a lot of people are like, until it hits 101, and then people start treating. That's. I do not, and I run into this with Chastity all the time when she goes to respite or she's in her day program, which did close during COVID, so she's not in one right now. So I think that's why she's probably a little bit healthier because she's not in that program. But I'd get a call and they're like, oh, her temp is 100.4. And I'm like, no, no, you don't treat her. You do not treat her. You do not treat her until it hits 104. Yep. And then, well, she might seizure. No, she probably won't seizure because you're already temped her. You know what her temp is now. It's not that high, Yep. Yes, I'll come and get her from the program because their rules are whatever they are.
That's the same thing as the daycare. If it's over, I don't know what it is. If it's 100, she's not supposed to go. Or if she's,
I just don't think a fever is something you should be afraid of. But there is a point where you're extremely uncomfortable and you might want to take something to take that edge off.
And that's where there are natural, a warm bath, cool compress to the forehead.
Yeah, and the thing is, make sure you're not putting somebody in ice water.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
I said warm.
Yep.
Not cold.
Yep.
Warm. Even though you want the body to get warm. And my husband's always thing is, I want to throw the blankets off because I'm hot. He goes, no, you need to keep them on and you need to sweat it out. But even just if you take their socks off, stick their feet outside the blanket, but keep the core body covered so that you're warming it up. That's why you pile on blankets so you can get warm and heat up and kill that stuff, whatever it is. So that's where I sit with temperatures and stuff.
Fever. But you got to do what you're comfortable with. Once again, we're just life experience here, and that's just this how you think about it.
It is kind of scary. Even
yes, it is.
Even with my granddaughter. And I wasn't around my grandson when he was coughing at the worst, but my granddaughter I was because she couldn't go to daycare. And I'm like going, this brings back memories of, my kids being sick and not knowing what to do. My mom was 2.5 to 3 hours away. My mother-in-law was 3 hours away. And it costs money to call. It's not like today where you pick up your cell phone and you can talk for as long as you want. It was ticked off by the minute. And we couldn't afford long conversations.
No internet.
No internet to research. I've learned more things from the day we've got the internet than, is that we all can share these things so freely is what I enjoy about the internet. There are downsides to the internet, but that's one thing, that information is so readily available now that it's not, you have to go buy a $30 book. Or even if when you could get it from the library, it would still take time, a minimum of a week to get a book from the library. Because I still am a big library person.
Yes, I know you are.
Because I'll look at a book before I decide, I want this book in my library. So I have the information at my fingertips. But
okay. All right. Now I'd say if you have an infant and that might be a little bit different.
Yes, there's difference with, but ages of children matter, or the patient matters.
I always say, follow your gut. If that is scaring you, then you need to do something about it.
If you need the reassurance of the doctor or a professional, go have them checked out. And for them to go, it's a viral thing. I can't do anything about it. The prescriptions aren't going to, antibiotics not going to help it. Then okay, I can go back to my list here and treat it. Granted, infants, let me go back to the honey thing. Is that under 1, you do not want to give them honey. Because of the bacteria that in their bodies can't fight that.
Right.
And so that's the only thing. Don't give honey to under 1-year-olds. But honey will help get some of this into older ones.
Okay.
I think my list is exhausted.
Yeah, I think we've exhausted the list. The only other thing I was going to just mention, we've been talking about honey quite heavily, and that we are considering actually bringing honey bees onto our farm. We've had them here before.
Yes.
And had somebody else manage them. They left their honey equipment here, and so we do have some hives that they're not complete hives, so we'd have to do some maintenance on them and bring them in. But the big thing is that the honeybees would be my problem because Rich is allergic to honeybees.
Oh no,
I'm not sure I want to bite off that chunk of
because then you'll be calving this next spring and summer too.
Yes, and so I'm not exactly sure, but it is something that we are considering doing. If you as a listener have any ideas or reassurances for me that I can actually handle doing bees. I do not like to get stung.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of being stung by anything. If you have some information or you do bees and you could help me out, figure this out, that would be absolutely marvelous.
Places to research.
Yes.
Good sites to research.
Yes. And other than that, Jamie and I would both like to thank you for joining us for this podcast. I hope you learned something since flu season is upon us.
Yep.
And maybe you can add a few things to your arsenal that Jamie suggested here.
I'm always willing, even if you have suggestions that this is what we do.
Yeah. We'd love to hear what you guys do.
Yeah. To add it to my list of things to do, because it's like you're when you're in the mix of doing it, you're like, oh, where's my list? I can't remember what I used to do.
Right.
What have I done in the past?
Yes, exactly. So it's always good to have an open conversation and learn something from somebody else. So with that, I'd like to thank picosupply.com for sponsoring our podcast. Thank you for joining us.